Look at your smile. Well, welcome back to the Brutally Honest Loan Officer Podcast. I am Mr. Stephen Brock, and with me, as always, is Mr. Derick Brown. We are loan officers with the mortgage firm. Derick, say hello.
Good morning. What's up, buddy?
Not much. How was your weekend? I know we were close to each other, but far apart at the
Close,
same
but
time.
so far.
So far.
Yeah, you were at Universal, and we had an action-packed weekend. We went to concert on Friday. Went and saw Dan and Shay in Tampa. Then went to the Hard Rock, gambled a little bit. Came home with some money. Thank goodness. Then Saturday, I did a whole bunch of yard work, clearing out a piece of land in between me and my neighbor's house. We're eventually going to put like a ropes course and swing and fire pit and stuff like that to share with our neighbors. And then went to a happy hour celebrating a friend's 10-year anniversary on their business.
Nice.
And then yesterday, kind of did a little stuff around the house. And then after nap time, went to Disney, went to Epcot. So
that's definitely for the parents. Epcot is for the parents.
Hey, you know what starts this Thursday?
Food and wine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tony and I got a date night for next Saturday. I think that's what we're going to do. I'm really curious because like one of the Disney employees or cast members is what they're called. One of the wonderful cast members that was painting Audrey's face yesterday told us that Thursday was Food and Wine Festival, and we didn't realize it was starting so soon. So my hope is that no one else knows that either.
I will say this is the first year in a while, because I think COVID is when they started having it like super early.
Right.
There's always been like September, October. Like we used to go up as a family in like October time to it. But then we noticed like we would just go one random day in the summer and it was Food and Wine Festival. And I was like, why is it so early? Trying to make all that money up from COVID. That's what they're trying to do. But
I don't know. So we're excited. It's super fun. So I think we're going to do that on Saturday.
Nice. That'll be fun. Yeah, we have a plan. In a couple of months, we'll go back up there. But yeah, we went to Universal. Your kids aren't old enough, basically. That's what it comes down to. They could go, but like my kids can ride every single ride but the huge roller coasters.
Gotcha.
So like we can get a lot done there.
Yeah, I think poor Bennett. And he's tall for his age, but he's not tall enough to ride half the rides at Disney.
Yeah.
Or Epcot or Hollywood Studios or whatever. I don't know. Ones that we go to. So
all right. So what's today's topic? Let's get on that.
Advice for loan officers. We're going to spill the beans. Going to give advice for some loan officers that might be listening. Just kind of tips that have helped us in our career. So just wanted to go over a little bit of advice. Nothing too hard to implement, really. It's just a matter of doing it. Something that I started doing a few years ago that has definitely made an impact on my business. So this advice is not market sensitive. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing really well right now in a tough market. There's a lot of loan officers that got out of the business at the beginning of the year. But
yeah, there'll probably be a lot that get out here soon too, because we're going to start having to renew here soon. I bet you there's a downside to people.
We'll see. I don't know. I bet you a lot of loan officers kind of keep their license hoping for this little refi boom that might be coming. But honestly, if they weren't doing a whole lot of business before, what kind of refi business are they going to do? Like direct to consumer, trying to do that or something versus, just refinancing the clients that bought with them. I don't know. So we'll see. But some of the advice we're going to give is just advice that'll help you in any market. It's not necessarily low interest rate market, high interest rate market, inventory, all that stuff that, we say it might be a buyer's market, seller's market. Doesn't matter. This advice should help you through any market. And I'll get right into it. Tip number one that I have for you, for any loan officer today, one of the most important things you can do is track your business. So I have a form that I call my lead tracker, and it is every conversation I have with a potential client. If they're reaching out, to get ready to purchase a home. Sometimes, they reach out and say, Derick, I'm ready to get pre-approved. Beautiful. Let's do it.
Yep.
But I track where that came from. So if it came from a realtor, another business partner, past client, track that. So name of the customer, where it came from, type of loan we're considering, what we might be working on to get them pre-approved. Sometimes they need to save a little bit more. Maybe we do a soft pull on credit. Credit score isn't where we want it to be. So we're going to do a rescore. So, and sometimes that might take a little bit longer than just, next couple of days.
So I always say that that's a loan story. What's a
Right.
loan story? What are they looking at trying to do? Budget, price point. Anybody could read and be like, I know exactly what John Smith is trying to do. That
Right.
because this lead tracker isn't just for, I mean, if you're just starting out, yeah, it's just for you. But eventually you're going to have an assistant. Your assistant needs to be able to understand and look at that lead tracker and be like, I know where this person is, that person is, what's going on with them without having to call you. That's the
Right.
other, one benefit is, yes, there's people that have been in the business 30 plus years and they're like, oh yeah, I write down all my leads on a piece of paper, sticky note. So where the heck is it? Like,
Right.
can you just track it? One is it helps you track your conversion, like who went from a lead to pre-approval to a closed loan. Like that's huge to know. Like where is my business coming from and what do I need to focus on? I mean, we all know over 50% of our business comes from realtors.
Right.
But which realtor? How many what realtor is sending you 200 leads, but you closed one? That's where you have to have that conversation and be like, hey, where are you getting your leads from? They might be like,
Right.
I buy them. Like, okay, well, if they buy them, then you understand like that's a very low conversion. Online leads are typically 1 to 2%. It's considered what they're going to convert at. But a warm
Right.
lead, that could be, you should be shooting for 25%. Every 4 leads you get, you should be able to close one, is what the ultimate goal is.
Right. But there's also times where they're going through something. Maybe they're, working on paying down debt. So then you want to follow up every so often, to see if they're still on track, paying it down so they can qualify for the house that they want. So having a lead tracker there and being able to go back and touch base with them on a regular basis, is helpful. Otherwise, if you're not writing it down, if you're not keeping track, you're going to forget about people that eventually will buy.
Yeah.
But
anybody
if you're
listening
saying,
to this that like wants this lead tracker, we'll send you it. Shoot us
yeah,
an email, text, call us. We'll send you a lead tracker that we use. We have a simple one, and then that's just basically they're both spreadsheets. They have like a simple tracker one, and then I have one that's more advanced that Tony Moore has made at our company that really tracks everything and the conversion and runs all the numbers. But anything that we're talking about today, if you want a copy of it, let us know. Easy to give it to you.
yeah, no, love it. So lead tracker, couldn't be more important. It might be the most important tool that I have. And it starts so simple. So it's just tracking your leads so you know where they came from. And then it's helpful too, because I can see, especially over a long period of time, who my best partners are.
Yeah.
And I want to like stay in touch with them. And, if they need help or anything, and I don't know, like if a realtor is asking me to participate in something, is it worth my money? Is it worth, my time and stuff like that? And with a lot of my realtors, it is, because I can see that it's worth, maintaining that relationship and helping them get more leads and stuff like that. So lead tracker, tip number 1. Steven,
So tip number 2 is tracking your week. This is, I feel, just as important as a lead tracker. I mean, they're right there even with each other. A lot of people call it your greatness tracker, your what are the words? Greatness tracker,
success tracker,
success
the perfect
tracker.
week.
So this is where you're tracking your week. How many conversations did you have? How many phone calls? Great phone calls. So a great phone call. Did you ask for business? Did you deepen the relationship? Did you get a lead? Did you give a lead? Those are great phone calls. How many of those did you have a week? How many meetings, one-on-ones? How many events you went to? How many break breads, lunches, coffee appointments? Those are all things that you track to make sure, did you have a successful week? There's a lot of times where you're like, oh, I feel like I did a lot this week. And then you look at it and you're like, I didn't prospect at all. I really look at
There's
this.
so many times, like especially early in my career, where I was like, man, I had such a busy week. But then when I started tracking my week, I realized sure did. Definitely. I had a busy week, but I was not productive. And
Exactly.
some of the things I was doing were not income producing activities.
What that sheet does, that tracker does, is stop the roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
A lot of people will get prospect, get a couple of loans in the file, work on all that, and then suddenly they're busy. They felt like they're doing stuff. They're working 40 hours a week working on those files, but they're not prospecting anymore. What this tracker does is it makes sure that you're constantly prospecting. And if you're filling them out to the max on there or even over, like you're talking to over 100 individuals a week.
Right.
The more people you talk to, the more chances that you're going to get a lead to put on your lead tracker to convert. That is what these trackers are all about, is just tracking that conversations that you're having. And what's great about it is you're only putting one person at a time on there. So if let's just say I call Derick as my realtor, we talk, he gives me a lead or deepen the relationship, but then, so I put him on there as a great phone call, but Friday I have lunch with him. I got to either put him as a great phone call or a lunch. Can't be both.
Right.
I got really strict on that it can't be both. The LOs that I coach, it's one time. That name can be on there one time. I don't care if they give you 100 leads that week, one time, because you should be able to talk to other people, keep going with it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and we break it down to, so Stephen and I both follow theme days. So when I'm looking at my greatness tracker, Monday, Tuesday is typically my realtor calls. Tuesday, I also do my pipeline update calls. So that's where like buyers that I have that are under contract or clients that are going through a refinance, I'm updating on a weekly basis. And even if there is no update, call and say like, hey, we're just waiting on the appraisal. Everything looks great.
Yep.
Other than that, not a real good update, but we're not waiting for anything. We're good. And people appreciate that, but you call the buyer's agent, listing agent, title company, on a weekly basis. And then you're also reaching out. Another day is calling past clients. Another day is for business partners. So you can really track whether or not you're having a productive week and calling these certain individuals to know if it's a productive week. So at one point too, like I was kind of doing that and feeling like I was productive, but like I was scattered all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I just took a calendar and made my perfect week, starting at, 7 a.m., from this time. And then I went even further. If I'm waking up at 5:15, what am I doing? All the way until, 5 p.m. when I'm done. Shut down, family time, try to do the next 3 hours with family. But I broke it down perfect week. This is when I want to do my calls. This is when I want to schedule meetings. This is when I want to have lunch. Because there's also times, especially like when we get busy, next thing I know, it's 2:00 and I didn't eat lunch.
Yep.
So, I mean, even just as simple as that, like I've got lunch time blocked, and then looking early on the week, my perfect week includes a lunch out with, a referral partner. So scheduling that, making sure it's on the books, stuff like that. But just tracking your week, super important. It'll help you be more productive.
Anybody doing it, you just, so like a lot of these trackers or the greatness and sales trackers is like, oh, you need to make 70 phone calls this week. And it's like, I always tell people when I first give it to them, fill it out and see what you're doing right now.
Sure.
If it's at 20, that's how I started. Oh, I was at 20, whatever that number was. Okay. It was like, my coach was like, the next week, like you're at 25 and you can't go backwards. So you need to put it at 25. And then, hey, then you're at 25 and 30, and you just keep increasing it until you are able to fill that out completely. And then you have no excuse. Like if you start falling behind, like, oh, I need to, unless you're out of town or on vacation or something, like you need to push it as much as you can.
Right.
So, but what if you have all these things and you're doing it, like okay, you have the lead tracker, the greatness tracker, who are you calling? How are you, who should I call? I know you said like you
Tip
put
number
these
3.
things, there you go.
Tip number 3 is the list. So you create a realtor list, a VIP list, client list. So obviously your realtor list, I have 2 different realtor lists. First one is my top realtors, the ones that I work with, that I have relationships with, that I'm closing consistently with. And then my second is realtors that I want to work with. I start with past listing agents that I've closed with, did a good job, reach out, they know who I am, easier than a cold call. But also adding to that list is agents that I want to work with that I have not had the pleasure of closing a loan with. So that's my 2 realtor lists. Then I've got a VIP list. This is full of other referral partners outside of a realtor. So you've got like title companies, CPAs, financial advisors, attorneys. There's all different types of attorneys that can refer you. Bankruptcy attorney, divorce attorney, estate planning attorney, probate attorney. All of those attorneys are people that could refer me for various reasons. Especially when you think about a divorce attorney. If they're going through a divorce, that could mean that one of the ex-spouses is wanting to keep the property. So are you doing a refinance? Or maybe they're both selling and they're both wanting to buy. So it depends on what that situation is, but sometimes that can turn into a great referral source. So that's your VIP list. And then the third list that I have is the client list. This is past clients. And you just keep a list of all your past clients that you should be adding more and more to, and you reach out to them on a regular basis. I have found that it is easier to cover 2 letters per week. So if you start January 1st and you call A and B, last names start with A and B. Next week, you're calling C and D. If you do that, you should be able to talk to them at least twice per year.
Yeah. And then you're also calling them on their anniversary of their house.
Right.
Doing a mortgage review with them on their birthday. So your past clients, you could have 4 phone conversations with them
per year.
Just right there. Yeah.
Easily. So now, what is the other important factor of having these lists? You have to have a reason to call. Yes. So just checking in to see how they're doing. Sure. But then you follow up with, do you have anybody that that might be interested in purchasing or refinancing a home? You have to ask for the business.
Oh, that's it?
I mean, sometimes it is that simple.
It's always that
just
simple.
Talk to people, and and they might remember you or whatever. But you have to ask for the business. You have to ask.
As we were talking before, like, okay, if you're talking to 100 people and you're not deep in your relationship, like that's a check. But to make it a great interaction with that person, to technically put their name on that list, did you ask for business? Did you ask for business? That's how you put it on the lead tracker. Now, are you going to just do it how Derick did? Maybe, maybe not. You have your own way of, scripting it out, but in your own words is the best way of doing it. And is it hard? I've been in this business for a while, and it's still hard for me to do it. But when I can tell when my lead count is down, I'm like, I don't think I've really been asking for business. So I start asking for business, and boom, my leads come back up. Sometimes people just forget. I'm not going to say they forget what you do because you're talking to them, but until you ask, they forget who actually needs your help sometimes.
Right.
They're like, oh yeah, you know what? I just talked to this person. I need to send them over to you. That's simple.
Right.
What also is important is knowing your loan programs. Why go conventional?
True.
Why go FHA? Knowing your loan programs is huge. But I want to say knowing your loan programs to a T, reading the guidelines and knowing all that isn't always super great.
It doesn't mean anything if you're not making calls.
Exactly. If you're not talking to people, knowing every guideline in the world isn't going to do anything. I see people out there like, well, I'm going to study the guidelines. I'm going to learn more about all the loan programs before I make my calls. How does that help you at all? Now, do you need to know what you are talking about? Yes, you can't be stumbling on your stuff. I mean, there are curveball questions that come out there of, well, what if this person does this or that you need to research more on? You just have to say it. But the basics of loans and the loan process, you should know. So I think, if you are time blocking, hey, time blocking, making my calls, time blocking, reading guidelines, time blocking, going over a loan program or going over the loans I have in the pipeline, like you need a time block and make that perfect week and actually knock those things out. People have the call reluctancy where, hey, until I know how to structure every loan perfectly, I'm not going to call anybody. Well, you're starting yourself on the wrong foot. You're going to be weeks behind trying to learn all that before you can get there. So,
Right. Yeah. And I'll tell you right now, I have studied guidelines. I have researched loans. I have looked at different investors and who offers what and this and that. And so I'm pretty good about knowing that, but I have learned more by doing it, not by researching guidelines. I've learned more by getting loans in the door, structuring them, and then figuring out this is a great, option for you. I've got a bank statement loan closing this week, where originally we, started looking at tax returns. Do you qualify the normal route? No, not for what you want. So let's look at bank statement. Bank statement loan, perfect scenario for us. So knowing guidelines is important. Making these phone calls, asking for business, equally as important. It might even be more important.
Yeah, I think, lead tracker, greatness tracker, that's what's going to grow your business. You can always Google, research all the questions you need to learn the loan programs more.
Right.
I'm not telling you not to look at the guidelines and read them and review them, but it's really it's not prospecting. You're not prospecting on that part.
Well, and when you are talking to the client, ask more questions.
Yeah.
That's going to help you figure out what loan might be better. Ask more questions. Where do you see yourself in 2 years, 5 years, 10? Like, are you trying to buy like your dream home right now? Or is it going to be like a simple first time home buyer? You're looking for your first house. You plan on being there 3 to 4 years, maybe 5, and then you're going to sell it. Or maybe you want to keep it as a rental and then buy a different one. Are you a veteran? Are you not? What area are you looking in? You're looking in this area. It's a rural area. Maybe it qualifies for USDA. All these different questions that you can ask that are going to help you find the right loan sooner.
And that's building, as we said on the lead tracker, that is your loan story. What is their story? What are they trying to do? The more questions you ask, open-ended, and get their answer with it, like that's what's going to help with it. The other aspect I want to bring out is social media. This reason why this is number 4 is if you're not tracking leads, you're not doing greatness tracker, you don't know the programs, you don't know who to call, but you want to go to social media and do everything, that's going to actually probably put you further behind. The reason I say that is social media, you have to be very, very efficient at it, because it can be a time suck really quickly. You could scroll, doom and scroll and doom, whatever you want to call it. Very, very, don't make anything fun of me. Like I have gone down the rabbit hole on that, but now if you look at my social media, you can see like, well, he does a lot on here. I'm very efficient at what I do on there. If I spend content wise, posting and all that, maybe 2 or 3 hours, engaging with people a week, like that would be a lot, because I've just been efficient at going in there, doing what I need to do, and then getting out of it.
Right.
So I don't want people to go like, oh, I shouldn't be doing social media, or I should do all of social media. Social media could be really, really good, but you need to be doing the other stuff first.
Right.
And then you time block it. Okay, I'm going to do, here's my hour on social media for the week of doing whatever you're trying to do. Hey, I want to create more content. I want to engage with more people, whatever the case is. But you have to be super efficient at it.
Right. It's true.
Anything
Any
else?
other? Yeah, I think that's it.
I think that's it. Everybody always says, oh, going back to the basics. If you aren't doing these things proficiently, consistently, I think it's every coach that I've had, like, man, how do I get to your level? And they're like, I have just been doing this longer than you. That is it. Like, I've been in the business 25 years or whatever it is. I've been doing it for 20 years longer than you. Of course, I'm going to be further along than you. That is 99% of the time what it is. If you're making your calls, you have your list, you're tracking everything, you're tracking your leads, you know the loan programs. It's just a time game of doing it consistently over and over and over again. That's going to make you successful at it.
No, we're just good at tracking things. That's and that's turned into us being good loan officers, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so track your leads, track your week, create your lists, your realtor list, client list, VIP list. Know your loan programs, know guidelines, and then if you are going social media or doing anything like weekly, just be efficient at it. Don't get sucked into spending 4 hours a day on any one task.
Unless it's
Because
phone
you're
calls.
just, yeah.
But make sure
But
that's the other thing with the list, the realtor list. So you have to make sure you might be asking people for business. Do they even have business to give you? So you need to know, are you talking
right,
to the right people? How much time are you spending? There's nothing wrong with a realtor that only closes 2 or 3, loans with you or a year, or that's all they do all year long.
right,
But how much time are you spending on them to make sure that you're getting the right leads from them? So that's another thing to track. And most companies have a way of you seeing how many loans that a realtor closed, how many were with a mortgage. Then you can obviously see how many leads you got from them and how many you closed. So you can kind of, hey, if Derick is my realtor and he closes 4 houses a year and I, 2 of them are mortgages and I closed one of them, like I'm a 25% capture rate on his leads, a 50% capture rate on the mortgages that he has out. Like that's where you want to be.
right,
So you need to make sure that's, hey, would I spend hours and hours on Derick compared to somebody that's giving me 10 mortgages a year? Probably not. But that's where you're going to have to balance that out with it.
right. And if you get good at this, then share it with your realtors, share it with your other referral partners. You can help them get better, which then should turn into more business for you. So
Exactly.
that is our advice this week. Loan officer advice, trying to help others. If you have questions about it, reach out to us. We'll send you blank forms on what we use. I think you'll be shocked to see how simple it is. It's nothing crazy. Granted, you did bring up your one lead tracker that is the most like advanced shit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I started doing it too, and I like it, but
But we've been doing this for years
it
before
was
we ever
over the
went to
top
that
for
one.
me at first, but
Yeah.
now I see the benefit because it calculates a lot more and stuff. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, if you have any questions or if you want us to send this to you, just reach out to us. But that's it.
Yeah. You can
So
find us on
thanks,
social media, anywhere. Shoot us a
yeah.
DM, email us. Happy to get it
Derick
to you.
Brown, mortgage firm, Stephen Brock, mortgage firm. You Google that, you'll find us. So thanks for joining us. This has been another episode of the Brutally Honest Loan Officer Podcast. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.